Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Adventures of a Real Estate Investor. I'm Susie.
And I'm Michael, and we're excited you joined us for this adventure.
Woo!
Today's special guest is Jeremy Hands, all the way from Florida. So a little bit about Jeremy. I met Jeremy through the War Room Mastermind. He was actually one of Susie and I's very first mentors in the multifamily space, and helped us look at underwriting differently, helped us underwrite a couple of properties, submit some LOIs together. It was a lot of fun. So Jeremy, thanks so much for getting our foot in the door in multifamily and really helping us understand underwriting to begin with, and the whole LOI process. That was huge for us.
And it was really scary.
I'll be honest, I forgot about that until you guys brought that back up. But yeah, we were looking at deals in Oklahoma City a couple of years ago. Oh, how the world has changed. So it's awesome.
Right?
Awesome.
Yeah, so much has changed.
Yeah.
I remember, we were going back and forth on the first LOI. It was like 7 million plus or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, I can't even submit this. And I don't want to press send. I was like, are you sure, man?
I think I probably told you, just send it. What's the worst that can happen? They say yes. I'm figuring. So
yeah, figured out. Oh man, that was pretty scary.
It was good. But Jeremy, would you please share with our listeners your background and why you started investing in real estate?
Yeah. So Jeremy Hands, right? Here in Pensacola, Florida. I'm a dad of 4 now, right? So I have a 6, 4, 2, and a 0-year-old just born last month. Married for 14, 15 years. But I started this world as a Navy helicopter pilot. So I was fortunate enough to join the Navy, become a pilot, and fly helicopters literally around the world off the aircraft carrier MH-60 Sierras. And while I was in that process, I realized pretty quickly that I'm not as good of an investor as I thought I was. So the first thing I did after joining the Navy was borrow $55,000 in career starter loans. And I invested it all in late 2007 and early 2008. And I, as a 22 and 23-year-old's first big financial move in this entire world was $55,000 in borrowed money in the stock market as a brand new ensign in the Navy. So that was how I got kicked off in the world. And that started me kind of a deep spiral of I got to do something better than this. This is dumb, right? I can't beat billionaires at their own game. They're hiring millionaires to run the portfolios. How can I get my piece, right? So that started me in real estate. In 2010, I was very fortunate to kind of follow the path to buying a small multifamily and to basically burring and house hacking. Before burring, house hacking, and small multifamilies were in the lexicon of investors. This is pre-bigger pocket days. And so I ended up buying a fourplex in San Diego in 2010. If you go back, you look at the up and down of the San Diego market. I bought at the very bottom of the market, in 2010, to the month. Super blessed. Still was way more money, right, as a 22, 23-year-old, and my new wife than we thought we should ever be, spending our money on. But bought a fourplex, lived in the front house after, of course, my very first eviction with my very first tenant, and then renovated all those units over the next couple of years and just, basically turned it all over to the property manager and living the good life, right? So I thought I'd figured it all out. My intention was really to kind of keep playing Navy and just own that house until I paid it all off in 30 years, and boom, I basically got the retirement. Maybe I'll do one more. Then I went on deployment. So in the Navy, right? And a couple things I learned. One is that I'd sold myself to the Navy for 10 years for about $35,000. And I realized I'm a pretty cheap indentured servant. And then 2 was that, I love the Navy and love everything that we're doing, but the career track was to continue leaving home, to continue going on these deployments, to continue just kind of being away from family so that I could continue to progress to go back and do the thing that I was trying to get away from, right? So it seemed like probably the normal track was not really for me. And then the other thing I realized is no matter how good you are in the military, you get paid the same as the guy right next to you. And so if you're really good, you just get more work and get no extra benefit for it. So that kind of started me down the there's got to be a different place in the world for a guy like me who wants to kind of create my own path. And so that kind of got me thinking. 2013, I moved to Pensacola, Florida. Heartbroken, didn't ever want to leave California, didn't think I was going to have to, and realized that my whole plan to own this thing for 30 years was out the window. I needed to figure out an exit plan from the military as I was coming up on my 10-year mark, and got my MBA and started investing in real estate. So my first deal that I really kind of started on was trying to buy a mobile home park here in Pensacola. Didn't know anything about it. Was a residential broker. He told me if I thought it was a good deal, I should just submit an offer. He had no other background or other information to provide me. Didn't understand NOIs, nothing. Nice guy, still see him around, but man, provided me absolutely no value. But so I started calling around, I need to find some more information. So I ended up calling a guy that I'd heard of through the real estate association, right? That was part of the local RIA. And also he knew he went to my church, but I just had never talked to him in person. So got his phone number, called him up, said, hey, I'm looking at this mobile home park. I hear that you already, was looking at mobile home parks. You know about mobile home parks. I got some questions. And so we started talking. He's like, wait, what park is this? And I told him what it is. He's like, oh, I'm going to go look at that one tomorrow. And I immediately was dejected. I was like, oh, right? Like, just don't offer more than I'm going to offer, right? Like, you have the same job as I do. We go to church together. Like, let's just decide how much we're going to pay for this, and just one of us get it. Let's not, beat ourselves up over it. And then through those conversations, we ended up like kind of deciding, well, let's just go ahead and not compete, but instead collaborate, right? And so we ended up, merging our offer into a single offer with the two of us, and then we didn't buy that park. It was actually a terrible deal. But from that conversation, we realized, yeah, we do have the same job. We lived a block and a half from each other. We were both going to the same church and the same Sunday school class. Our wives knew each other. We both had white bulldogs. Like, it was like super weird. Weird things we had in common. And, he's super tall. I'm not. He's pretty great shape as a Marine. I get by. Little twins, kind of option there. So we started working together. We took some classes on mobile home parks, took some classes on commercial real estate. And we decided, like, hey, let's just skip the wholesaling. Let's skip the flipping. Let's just jump into multifamily. And so it was really multifamily / mobile home park. So we bought a mobile home park together in 2015. We still own today. We bought that for about $200,000. We'll put it on the market this summer for probably $1 million. And then from there, jumped into our first syndication. Like everything, it seems to work for me, right? The first thing I did just failed completely. So we raised money for a 74-unit mobile home park. 2 days before closing, the owner died. He was sick. We knew that was a possibility. But all of the properties then, including the one that we were in contract with, went under probate. We spent 9 months learning about the probate process, lawyers, and how to lose money. And so we raised all this money. We ended up, at the end of the day, having to give all the money back to the investors. Bob and I ended up taking just personally a big hit, $35,000, $50,000. It was a lot of money with nothing to show for it, right?
Wow.
But we were also stupid enough to just keep going, right? So we realized, like, well, if these guys will give us money on this deal, they'll probably do it again. So while I was in probate, we went out and just found another deal. So we did another small the second one was actually a small commercial building, 8,000 square feet, right next to kind of where we lived, kind of we knew the path of progress. And then from there, we did about 2 multifamily mobile home park deals kind of a year as we were both kind of figuring out what would be next. And we were doing all those deals as 2 individuals, right? So Jeremy and Bob are really as our LLCs. And sometime around 2019, we had this problem where, like, everybody saw Jeremy and Bob as Jeremy and Bob together. We did not see ourselves that way, right? So we had to make a decision, like, we're going to split up the band, or we're going to make the band a partnership and actually trade a business. And so through 2019, we could have those conversations, like, what does the future look like? Are we both staying in? We both basically got extended kind of in the military, Bob for 3 more years, me for 2.5. And so we were able to kind of keep the job, kind of stay, working together if we wanted to, but we knew we had a kind of a break point. At some point we had to decide, like, what does the future look like for us? And so in 2020, we officially launched after about a year of kind of planning client capital. And so we are now a commercial, investment firm, now up to 8 employees there. We also started our own property management company. And now we have bought multifamily, mobile home parks, RV parks. We bought our first business. It's actually where I'm sitting today. Bought a small minority stake in a local business, kind of a private equity play. And, we're just going to kind of keep learning and growing. And so we now manage or own about 800 units, mostly because we've been selling quite a bit, so we're down a little bit, but we have pivoted in the last year from the value add multifamily mobile home park space into RV parks. And so single spots are syndicators, right? Raising money for deals like a lot of other people, but we've decided, hey, let's go kind of where the macro trends seem to be flowing, where we're making a lot of money and where we already had a little bit of experience. We have basically reset all of our real estate around buying vacation RV park destinations and then managing those in-house. So that's where we're at today. It's been a wild ride. I don't know how I got here. It was never planned, but super excited to kind of break up more of that story.
I love it. My very first question, we're going to go all the way back to 22. Like, was your family like talking about the stock market, or were they entrepreneurial, or like, where did that itch initially come from? Because to be like, hey, I'm going to get $55,000 put in the stock market feels very bold.
Yeah, I don't really know where that came from, right? I think part of it came from is I knew other people that had done it. So there was 3 or 4 guys I'd known from college or in the Navy that had done the borrow the money, invest the money, make a bunch of money, buy a cool car, like the years before me, right? In 2004, 2005, 2006. Like,
yeah.
Kind of like made sense. I definitely have a little bit of familial kind of entrepreneurship that's not necessarily from my parents, but from my grandparents' generation, right? Both kind of business owners. Not necessarily massively successful, but just something like where they always had to work for themselves and just love to work. I don't have hobbies. I have businesses. And so I think that's just kind of the nature of kind of who I am. But I think really came down to me just like very early on, just wanting to try to, make a little extra bucks on the side, right? It was a pretty boring start, right? Just like, let's see if I can make a couple extra dollars, play some arbitrage games, right? I'm a smart guy. Let's see if I can outsmart the system. And then realized I'm really not. I was just trying to get lucky. So yeah.
It's crazy. So like now I want to go forward a little bit. Capital, because like I know how much that company has grown so far in the
Yep.
past, like maybe a little bit over 2 years, right?
Mhm.
Like it was just started you and Bob, and now like you explain like your expansion and like how you
Mhm.
managed all that.
Yeah. So, Bob and I started doing deals together in 2014. So Climb Capital, yes, is a 2020 creation officially, but kind of our story, kind of our reputation really precedes that all the way back to 2014. And honestly, it was a slow grind, right? So when you do 1 or 2 deals a year and you're raising $200,000 to $500,000 for those first couple of deals, that was what kind of was the little bit of success that we were able to build upon and build upon and build upon. So when we launched Climb Capital, the first thing we did is we implemented a process, right, a system into our meetings, and actually let's have a standard meeting every week instead of just talking when we need to. And so let's not just talk through email and text message because we keep losing those, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, it was getting to be out of control, right? We can keep track of things by 2018. So Climb Capital started with let's run on EOS, let's have a CRM. Let's have a back office, a kind of internal communication, use Basecamp. Let's use Google Drive correctly, and let's create an actual business. And so that started with me and him. And then as we started buying that first year, we bought about 500 units. And so by the beginning of 2021, we realized we needed some help. So we first brought on who has since blossomed into our kind of lead acquisitions, dispositions person. She maintains most of our relationships with brokers. And then at the same time, if you remember 2020 and the COVID, we had a whole bunch of airline pilots who were getting paid but didn't have anything to do. So we took on basically 3 airline pilot interns. And one of those guys ended up staying around. So he is now kind of turned into our controller and kind of software expert for all of our stuff. And then at the end of 2021, we decided we kind of need to expand, actually start talking about what we're doing. We were so busy doing the work, we weren't talking about the work. And so that was starting to become a problem of, how do we raise money if nobody knows what we're doing? We had great deals, we had great operations, but we didn't have any money. So we started we got to start putting our name out. So we brought in a marketing guy, and then recently brought in an operations and an off-market wholesaler. So wholesaling background, bringing that in-house to have both an off-market and an on-market deal team. And then we've had 3 or 4 interns that kind of keep coming and going, skill bridge, local college kids, so on and so forth. And then we have a full-on property management company that also kind of subsides underneath that. We break them off as separate, but there's quite a bit of kind of overlap between those positions too.
Yeah, I want to talk about, dig a little bit deeper into that, that property management company. Like, is that something that you set up yourself, or did you buy an existing property management company, or how did that come to fruition?
Yeah, so I mean, the sad story is that we fired everybody else and we were the last ones left, right? I mean, everybody says, and I don't disagree, right? You shouldn't manage your own deals until you have 10,000 units, right? But when you're buying Class C, multifamily, and tertiary markets that need a massive turnaround, who are you going to get to actually do that work, right? And so we tried a few. We had all kinds of lack of success with those, like people not following through, not answering the phones, right? Just weren't doing the little things. And so that became very frustrating. We realized there was no chance that any of those companies were going to succeed with RV parks. So the first RV park, we decided, hey, we're just going to bring in our own manager. She'll work for us. We'll figure it out. We'll use a software solution, and hopefully that's good enough. She had worked previously at one of the other management companies with, so we had some kind of repertoire and of kind of knowledge, and then also had a little bit of skill set that we knew she had. So we started with the RV park. And then later that year, we realized that mobile home parks were dying right on the vine. I mean, just so much opportunity, but there was just nobody who was spending any effort to do things correctly. And so in 2021, we launched officially on the beginning of 2021 to take over our mobile home parks and RV parks. And then by the end of 2021, in November, we'd taken over all of our apartments also. And so it's a pure necessity. And then now that we've pivoted into RV parks, it's also a differentiator, because most people can't go buy an RV park because you can't call somebody up locally. They can just go manage your RV park. There's not a system. There's not a process. And now that we've got that and we've replicated it over and over again, we have a hiring system. We have a marketing system to find these people. We can buy anywhere we want, and we can have success. And we're proving it over and over again.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really, really great that you brought that up. It's like it came out of necessity, because like you said, like especially with RV parks, like, and even mobile home parks, really, there's not really a property manager that you can call up and say, hey, can you manage this or whatever, right? Like, and you really don't get any benefit out of having an on-site manager of maintenance until you have like 100 units in an apartment complex, right? So if you're buying smaller stuff, and then you can handle, and then your property management company, you could teach everybody, or like one regional or somebody to manage it, that they can do RV, multifamily, and RV parks and mobile home parks.
I mean, I listen. I would question if you find somebody that gets excited about taking over your Class C 60 unit apartment complex in the tertiary market. Like, why is this person even taking your business? It's going to be a ton of work for not nearly enough revenue, right? For what they're actually going to be doing. And so, after going through our third and fourth property management company there, we realized like, listen, there are some great people and it can be done. You can get lucky once in a while, but consistently over time, it just doesn't work. And so, we had some really great individuals at times for those property management companies, but what would happen is if they would leave or they would change positions, the entire system would fall apart. Property management is so personality driven that you have to be able to control that personality, I think, if you want success in these non-institutional grade kind of quality, but still, highly lucrative, investments is kind of my thought process.
It's like I so often, like just in calls, right? I hear so many people saying how much they like dislike their property management company. And I'm like, that is hard, because Michael and I actually feel very, I guess, like blessed. Like it took us a while to find ours, but we love them for the reasons of like, she'll say no, right? If she's like, that'll be way too hard. Like it'll be stressful for me, for you, the property manager that's on site. Like, what's the point of doing it? But then also she just like loves what she does. But so often we get asked like, oh, would you consider moving markets? It's like, I don't know. I have to like meet the 5,000 property managers that are in that area because I don't want to be stressed out.
We had some really good property managers and they got so good, they outgrew us, right? So, that's the other problem too, right? If they are really good and they crush my 60 unit, well, they're then going to go take on 120 or 200 unit. And all of a sudden they don't want to deal with me anymore in my 15, 60 units because they're making all the money somewhere else. And so I don't fault them for that. I would do the same thing. I'd hope that they would do the same thing, right? They're trying to grow their own careers. And so, recognizing that I think was tough, but I think you guys have been in this space long enough that the multifamily space, the idea is like, if you just buy the deal, then the deal just, runs itself, right? Nobody ever talks about the back end where you actually make money, which is all the actual hard work that has to be done, day in and day out. So we didn't want to do the property management. I don't want to be a property manager, but I've actually found that I actually work less on my property management now that we own the company than when we were trying to manage through a third party where you're still paying all the salaries and you're paying fees and you're not getting what you want done. Or now if they don't work out, they just move on to the next one.
I just wanted to point out one thing to what you're going to say, but just about ending, tying out in this property management discussion here, but like that's so Susie and I being so far away from our properties, like Susie does go back like monthly now to view all of them and make sure everything's going smoothly now that COVID restrictions is lifted and stuff like that. But during that time, like we don't even look at properties that are under 100 units because like our property management company doesn't even want to see properties smaller than that. So like I can imagine like how much of an edge up that gives you a client capital is like having, being vertically integrated and be able to have such a diverse management as well across all different asset types. Which is really cool. So that's all.
And I won't divulge all my secrets, but we've got, our system is really what makes us successful. And that system we've proven is repeatable in any market in the Southeast. So you can go buy an RV park, but you can't outmanage me.
I like that a lot. I was just going to ask like how your experience has been with SkillBridge, because I think it's pretty cool that you're bringing people in from the military just for a couple of reasons, right? Like a lot of skills aren't transferable and that's a problem. Like you see very often that people leave the military and can't actually get a job because it just doesn't work out. And like Michael and I have talked about it and that's the extent. We have not implemented anything, but like, how has that been? Have you noticed just like a great difference when their internship ends? Like, how does it all work?
Yeah. So SkillBridge is a program that currently allows DoD personnel as they're getting out of the military at the end of their contracts to take up to 6 months to go work as an intern in a company before they get out of the military. Right. And during that time, the company doesn't pay their salary, the military pays their salary. So it's like a free body, right? For the business. It's an opportunity for the individual to learn a skill set or to be inside of a business, see how things operate. And for the military, it's actually ensure that there's some kind of, bridge to the civilian world for some of these people getting out. Now, there's a lot of variations per service and per command on how long they'll let that be. Sometimes it's only 2 months. Sometimes they don't allow it at all, depending on the necessities. But if planned out correctly and things kind of fall in line, up to 6 months can be worked on, in a business going forward. So our start with SkillBridge is Bob, my partner, left the Marine Corps after 14 years. And his last 6 months he spent on SkillBridge working with our local commercial property management company, who at the time had kept trying to get into multifamily, but didn't actually have any multifamily brokers or really any kind of explicit multifamily knowledge, or really primarily office commercial guys. And so he built a relationship with them. Through that relationship, we ended up actually renting an office, subleasing an office that today we still keep an office there. And so they, at the time, had both insurance, property management. What else? There's a couple other parts. The brokers themselves, and then the property management company owners also owned a capital company. So we actually partnered with that capital company. We bought a 115 unit apartment together. So SkillBridge not only, introduced us to these guys who are now our friends, not only gave us kind of the office setup going forward after that, and then we also were able to go relay that into an actual, apartment deal that we're actually getting ready to sell right now with, massive returns. Good deal for everybody. So in that respect, it built our business, right? So that was number one. Two is now we've been able to bring in a few of these SkillBridge interns. And I think the thing that might be a little bit of a misnomer is that these guys in the military, especially officers, they're so talented. They have so many opportunities. They just don't know it, right? We're not taught that we have those opportunities. We don't recognize the quality of the people that we work with in comparison to the average employee, right? And so I don't think that, how to say it nicely, I don't think they're broken, right? I don't think they need the help, but I think it shows them and gives them the experience to be able to kind of feel like they can jump into the next one. So our very first SkillBridge intern came and worked with us. He worked in kind of underwriting and immediately left us. He went to live in Charlotte, found a job in Charlotte doing the exact same thing, making big money, right? At another syndication firm that's, 20, 30 years old, kind of down the street from what we're doing. This summer we're taking, I think, 3 more SkillBridge interns on. Got a guy coming in from Italy here in 2 weeks, another sailor coming in from San Diego. And so we feel like we have no problem sharing the information that we have. Nothing that we do is a secret. And so if we can get you into the fold, teach you something, give you an opportunity, if you want it, that works great for us, right? We get you like free labor, quote unquote. You get all of our secrets, quote unquote. And then you go off into the future, us, hopefully you like us, you've seen our systems, you go find a deal at some point, right? You're going to come back and call us and we can go partner on a deal or find another way to work together going forward. We love it. We actually have gone so far as to get the SkillBridge MOU completed, which is quite a process. So we're an official SkillBridge provider. People can go just like search for us on the SkillBridge website, find us and have this conversation. So we're having so much outpouring of like people interested that we're having to actually kind of start putting some like, fences around it. Like, hey, what exactly are we expecting from you? What's the expectations? What's the process? Because I don't know if I can really deal with 10 interns at a time, right? So at some point you got to make sure you're still providing some value to them too.
That was my next question is like how, before you mentioned that you're now an official SkillBridge provider or whatever, like how did you go about finding these people? Like you just advertise, you put it out there on social media or?
So I would say that one of the things that we've really thought about at Client Capital from the beginning, right, is core values and making sure that we're building a business that I want to be at. So every morning when I drive to work, if I don't want to go to work, it's my fault. I own the place, right? And so we've been very clear in making sure that we build something that we want to be a part of and that we market to that over and over again. So nearly 100% of our employees have sought us out and said, hey, we like what you guys are doing. We see what you're doing. We've gone to watch your videos. We believe in your culture. We believe in your core values. We want to be a part of it. Most of it has come from word of mouth and people kind of being referred to like, hey, you should go talk to Client Capital if you want to do commercial real estate from both the employees and the SkillBridge side. So there hasn't been necessarily a big marketing push, but we are constantly marketing us as a company, not just to our investors, but also to potential employees too, is kind of how I would kind of really look at it.
I love it. That's so cool. It is. That's just awesome that you've been able to like help transform these people. It's huge. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't feel like I'm really transforming anybody. I'm just kind of letting people know what we do and letting them be a part of it. So
great. You're almost just like giving them permission because that's what I feel like a lot of us need. Like just somebody to be like, yeah, you can do it.
There's a lot of people smarter than me, richer than me, taller than me, better shape than me that aren't going out and just doing it. And so it's giving me an opportunity for those who just do, right, to have a lot of success. And I think that's really important to just kind of see and do for guys getting out of the military or girls.
Well, Jeremy, it's been a great conversation so far, but unfortunately, it's getting towards the end of the show. We have to move into the adventures forum. These are 4 exploratory questions we ask all of our guests. So the first question we have for you, Jeremy, is where is one place you wish to travel to and why?
So I went to China when I was in college on a mission trip teaching conversational English. And I went to a little city right outside of Wuhan that nobody had ever heard of before, right? In 2006. And so I'd really like to go back to Yichang, which is what it's called, and Wuhan, now almost, it'll be 20 years later by the time I get back and just kind of go see how that has changed. Because that was one of those cool things where like just being inside and like really immersed in a foreign culture for more than just a couple of days was pretty cool. And like to kind of go back and show the wife and kids some of that formal stuff that got me built up. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That's cool. So the second question is, what is one thing on your bucket list and how are you leveraging real estate investing to achieve it?
Okay. So I told you I'm a helicopter pilot, right? So pilot by trade. Bob and I have this fascination with airplanes, both pilots. our business is called Climb Capital. We literally sat down and said, hey, what do we need to do to create a business that allows us to buy an airplane so our wives can't be mad at us, right? And so we're like, commercial real estate, right? You buy commercial real estate in a bunch of places, you have to buy an airplane because there's really no other way to get there. So that's the plan. And it's working. So I bought an airplane about a month ago. And so now I have a little 6-seat airplane that the whole family can fit in. And my intention is over the next few years before the kids all get out of school is to try to fly to every state in the country in our own plane. 48. Yeah. So I'm not ready to fly them in the airplane yet. I still probably need a few more hours before I'm going to go put mom and the babies in. But over the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to kind of start doing that, and really excited to kind of just travel and not have to go through TSA.
Right? I like that.
It's an everybody's dream.
Yeah.
That's actually the number one thing in bucket list is to avoid TSA.
Is it?
Yeah. So, I mean, I flew commercially this weekend for something else. And every time I go to the airport, it's like, it just reminds me, I got to go home and work a lot harder. Like, I just don't understand this line. And anytime I walk on an airplane and you like walk by people in first class and they look a little bit smug, you're just like, bro, you're breathing the same air as I am. Like, if you were really smug, you wouldn't be here. So
I like that.
Yeah.
it makes me want to go.
All right, so the third question we have for you, Jeremy, is what is one piece of advice you have for somebody who wants to start passively investing in real estate?
So I talk to a lot of investors, and the thing I tell people all the time is like, regardless of what you invest in, it's who you're investing in, right? Not every deal will go straight up. I think we've somehow created this false sense of future prediction in real estate where I tell you, well, we're going to get a 15% IRR return, and it's right? Like I'm projecting the future in a way that doesn't make sense. Yeah. When I was buying stocks in 2007, there was no expectation that any of these stocks would go and hit a certain amount right at a certain time. But for some reason, we decided that we're going to put these numbers and these IRRs that almost nobody can actually do the actual math of on our investments.
Yes,
in expectation that we're going to hit this magic number, right? Well, hot news tip, like the world is not linear. Success is not linear. Your property, you're not going to know every problem. And so you're really investing in the person. And I think when you realize you're investing in the person, stop chasing that 1% higher IRR because that dude's making it up and he's fudging the numbers in a way that you don't understand because he can hide numbers that you'll never be able to figure out. And so
pull somebody leaves with underwriting. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, listen, if nobody in the last 10 years, myself included, has ever proven any success because the market has bailed us out at any time we've ever made any mistakes because cap rates have gone from 8 to 5, right? Over the last 7 or 8 years while I've been in this business. So even a deal that made not $1 more has now significantly increased in value and has bailed out any poor business planning or business execution, where I think you really have to understand that going forward, that can't continue forever. 0 is still the naturally bottom number, right? So at some point, your cap rates can only go so far down. You have to start investing in the person. Is that person going to have the mental fortitude, the ability, the cognitive, understanding to be able to solve these problems when they do arise? Like at some point, something we have not considered will happen again, and we have to be ready and prepared for that. You can't necessarily pre-plan it all, but you can find the person that will be willing to stick through it and have the opportunity, the ability to get through it. It also doesn't hurt if that person has a little bit of money, so they have some cash to put on the line when necessary if things aren't perfect.
Totally agree with you.
I do too. Thanks for that. Actually,
yeah,
I was like, I learned from that. I mean, I've learned a lot from today, but that was a really good one. And the fourth and final question is, if you had unlimited resources available to you, how would you leave an impact?
So I would describe my life as one that's set up already, that if you give me another $1 million in my account tomorrow, it does not change what I'm doing. Right. And so I want to be able to provide that same feeling to anybody else in my life. And so what does that really mean? It's kind of lifestyle design would be probably the closest definition of that. But building a life where I wanted to create impact, but I can do it every day, right? It's not something that I'm doing off in the future. It's something I'm doing every day, right? So for me, right, I'm a Christian guy, so church is really important to me. Be able to support those causes, be able to serve in some of those capacities. For me, it's personal finance, right? So I teach a personal finance class to our benevolence ministry. So if people are asking for cash, they've got to come to 90 minutes of Jeremy talking about, how you're going to spend your money.
I love that.
I've taught the Dave Ramsey, FPU courses, which may not be for everybody, but, the opportunity to let people start talking about money. How can they do this stuff better? And then just generally, being able to kind of serve and help people in any way kind of possible, as you go day to day. So teaching Sunday school, helping out with, work days, so on and so forth. All those things are important to me. And those things I can do today. I don't have to wait till I have unlimited resources to do them because the truth is I kind of feel like I'm already at that spot. So
Hey, no, I like that. And you put all the action into it, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Jeremy, so thank you so much for providing such a great conversation. Appreciate it. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. Before we end the show, would you mind sharing with our adventurous family how they can find out more about you and Climb Capital or anything else you're doing?
Yeah, so Climb Capital is probably the best way to find me, climbcapital.com or Jeremy at climbcapital.com. I'll give you my phone number. You can call me, 469-878-0422. Exactly 0 of you will call me. That's fine. But know that it's an option. We are a syndication firm just like Michael and Susie, right? So doing very similar things, different places. Same thing with them. Like you got to have to get to know us if you're going to see our good deals. And so you got to reach out. Let's set up a Zoom call. Let's set up a phone call. Love to talk to you. Love to be a resource to people. But yeah, reach me through Climb Capital, or I don't know. I'm also on TikTok. I haven't been TikToking as much recently, but I'm trying to do near daily TikToks talking about commercial real estate, RV park investing, and so on and so forth. So taking a little bit of a break while we're launching the Velocity game right now, but I'll be back here shortly. So if you want to see Jeremy dancing to terrible music, it's available.
TikTok handle then, or whatever it's called.
At Jeremy M. Hands.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yay.
HANS.
HANS, no D. There you go.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Jeremy, for being here with us. It's truly, truly, truly been a pleasure.
Michael and Susie, thank you for having me. And for everybody else, go be adventurous, right?
Yay.
So until next time, explore more, adventure waits.
Woo!